you guys doing on this memorable day, September 9th, or no, 11th, ninth month, 11th day, 9/11. Um, did you forget? In all honesty, did you forget about this day? Did you forget about this time in which we were not supposed to forget? Where almost 4,000 some lives were lost that day. And it's something that everybody should remember. And I'm being told to turn my mic up, so let me. Can't remedy that. Give me 1 second. Let me see something about this mic. Testing 1, 2, 3. I think my mic's all the way up. Hold on. What's going on? Let's see here. Is that better? Is that better for you guys? I think that should be better. I think it was set to the wrong mic. So that should be a little bit better for you guys right there. Yeah, not 9/11. 9/11 is something that was a very tragic day in our country's history. And I'm gonna. I think I have a graphic that I did not put up, but I will put up right there. Right there. This is a day we should never forget. It's a day that we weren't meant to forget, but a lot have forgotten. Now people end up choosing political sides over love for our fellow mankind. They choose political sides over common decency. They choose political sides over immoral acts, or moral acts, rather, because they're acting immoral. They choose political sides over mother, brother, father, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, grandparents. They choose political sides over truth. And this is a day that a lot of conspiracy theories wrapped in, and a day that a lot of people mourn. But it's come to my understanding that if it doesn't directly affect you, then you don't care. And there's going to come a time in this country where something's going to happen that does affect you and everyone else around you, because Jesus is coming back. That's going to affect everybody in one way, shape, or form, whether they want it to or not. But on this particular day, we should remember those that fought, those that lost, those that loved, and those that signed up for the military to go fight a war that they didn't even know why they were fighting it, other than the fact that they believed someone hurt their nation. So we remember those that are fallen on that day and those that rose up to fight on that day. It's a rough day. Very rough day for our nation. So if I know a lot of people from New York that talk about this day. I have family members that lost their lives that day. Don't talk about that at all, ever. Some were in the tower, some were around the towers. So some were in the Pentagon. But it's just a day that should be remembered, man. And whether you believe it was staged or not is irrelevant. It's a day that should be remembered because something happened to someone that you know, or at least should know. And if you pushed it so far out of your mind for political polarization of red versus blue, left versus right, you're part of the problem. And because of that, our country is suffering. Oh, you wear a MAGA hat. You're a Trumper. Oh, you have blue hair. You're a liberal. Wake up. Have we become so tribalistic that all we think we are as people are numbers and sides? It's crazy. bleeding for one another, fighting for one another is all gone. Now we push to make people bleed that we don't agree with. We fight those that we call fellow Americans. And for what? I was listening to this one podcaster, and he said that there needs to be another event to unite America like 9/11. And my rebut to that is that there's nothing at this point in time in this country that can unite America. We have gone too far. We have hit a place of reprobate. So all you can do now is to hunker down in your beliefs and stay there. Because if you don't, you're going to be railroaded. It's just plain and simple. Just make sure you remember it. Remember those that lost their lives. Remember those that fought to rise or rose to fight for something that they believed in. Getting right into our show, ICE restraints lifted. A ruling that underscores the need of law and order and enforcing our immigration law in Los Angeles. Longstanding restrictions limited this process because Trump was trying to get things moving along. And what did they do? They shut it down. The court has cleared the way for the Trump administration to use more aggressive immigration operations. And what I come to understand is, I know that the Democrats were against Barack Obama doing this back in his time. But what I find to be absolutely perplexing is there were no nationwide injunctions. There was no stopping him at every turn. There was no 4 a.m. Emergency meetings by judges to put a stop to the president from doing something. There was none of that. Not at all. So what does this mean for public safety and state sovereignty? Because, you know, that is the opposition's standpoint. They're saying, oh, well, this is against the state sovereignty. He's hurting the states. Sir, ma'am, sir, thing, it, shim, whatever you are. The state are the people of said state. These people aren't the people of said state. They're not. So some key facts from this particular ruling is that the Supreme Court has lifted the restrictions on Los Angeles about immigration stops that were set after the previous enforcement practices swept the U.S. And basically, it's pretty much like stop and frisk. It's like stop and frisk for illegals, though. This is considered to be a win for the Trump administration overall, but the critics, including the L.A. mayor, you know, they got to get their in, and the California's attorney general are calling the ruling disturbing. The decision allows federal agents to resume sweeping immigration operations in Los Angeles despite local resistance. And that's where they come in and they say, oh, it's about the state's rights. You guys don't care about what's going on there. And I'm willing to bank on this, that there are more crimes happening in those areas that are protected by you people than is let on, because it's about reported laws, right? Or reported crimes, right? So we see for a fact that we have, on one hand, crimes that get reported, and on the other hand, that crimes that go unreported. And then we see some that make a national news and some that don't. I'm willing to bank that majority of the crimes that take place in these areas that try to protect these people would make national news, but they snuff it out. Enforcing federal immigration laws isn't about the border. It's not. It's about law and order inside the United States. Any other country that you go to or I go to, we have to abide by their laws. Brittany Griner found that out firsthand, did she not? Now, the local jurisdiction that tries to block the federal agents undermine the constitutional supremacy clause. The court's ruling affirms federal authority in this case, because these people are not people of the United States. Like, take, for example, the Rubio versus the Mancata, which I spoke on last week. These particular people, are pushing that They shouldn't be able to do anything with the 14th Amendment. They should be here. Well, Mankato has been here for almost 70 years. And they just said that, hey, buddy, you're not a citizen. And he was born here. So we have to take these things into account. Public safety and community impacts are paramount. So Trump doing what he's doing with this is something that is good, because you never know when someone's going to go off the rails, and these people can't really face real repercussions because they're not of our land. So our laws really don't apply to them. Unless they infringe upon someone's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, meaning their body, their 4th and 5th Amendment, unless they infringe upon that, these people get to break the law all they want. And these Democrats allow this. They want this. They love this. They need this. It's crazy to me. So civil liberties versus enforcement. Yes, civil liberties must be protected. Facts. But accidental detentions of citizens are unacceptable. And that's what they're trying to spin. Is that you're actually putting citizens away. No, they're not. They're not deporting citizens. That's a narrative that's painted by them to get you in your head thinking, oh, this is too much. Barack Obama deported 5.3 million people, of which at least 30,000 of them, it's not a big number in the grand scheme of things when you look at 5.3 million, but at least 30,000 of them were actual U.S. citizens. He even deported some veterans. Don't believe me? The CNN article is still up about it. And how these veterans were crying out to Obama saying, hey, bro, you deported us. What's going on? And they were actually American-born, American-raised. They were always here. Their family was always here since the founding of the Constitution. And you deported them. Nobody said anything about that. So, question for you. Do these restrictions protect rights or paralyze enforcement? I 100% personally say that it paralyzes enforcement, that these people are trying to push these restrictions left and right. Every time this man puts forth effort to do something with an executive order, there's a judge. There's a judge to jump right in. No, Trump. No. Like Dikembe Mutombo. No, you can't do that. What are we doing? Every single time? Every single time? No wonder these states have high crime, because you keep doing stuff like this. In other news, continuing the track of corruption, we have icy Illinois. So America's borders aren't just the policy of debate. They're a matter of life and death in this particular situation. ICE has just launched their new initiative, Operation Midway Blitz. And this is honoring, and the purpose of this was to honor Katie Abraham and taking aim at the illegal criminals and aliens who've been wreaking havoc in our communities. It all over. It's bad in North Carolina as well, but those that don't know who Katie Abraham is, she was a beautiful young lady that had all of her future ahead of her. Right or left, doesn't matter. There's no political affiliation in this situation. She was on her way to go into college, and this man killed her, hit and run. And they had to use state and federal things to catch this man. He was 2 states away by the time. I think it was 2 states away from what I last read when they found him. And then they bring him back to the state to take care of things. And what did Pritzker Barry Doughboy say? We gotta, go by the books and and then they asked him, hey, well, what about their family? What do you think about this? And his mouth got tighter than a butthole. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna get in trouble. he got real tight when they did ask that question. And then he pivoted and shaked and shimmy. You would have thought he was a ballerina, a very big, fat ballerina, but he danced around it and didn't address what was said. And this girl's life was lost for what? For what? Senseless. And the governor of Illinois couldn't even address it. Pritzker, what if this was your kid? that got ran down by an illegal, would you be okay with it? Oh, you probably would, because you don't even live in your own state as the governor. You have your 250-acre ranch in Wisconsin. Back to this though. Sorry, I apologize. The operation's name honors Katie Abraham, like I said before, a young woman that was tragically killed by someone who should have never been in our country. Just like this Pooskin fella that was driving the 18-wheeler. The initiative focuses on identifying, detaining, and deporting repeat offenders. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me thrice, and if you're a Democrat, come back. These people have taken advantage of the American system because it's broken. And why it matters ultimately is that the leadership looks at this and turns a nose to it. Oh, it's whatever. We don't care. We don't care about you, American citizen. We only care about these people that we're getting taxpayer money from, that we're misappropriating. And for too long, sanctuary cities, by which I will get on this little soapbox, sanctuary cities were not voted on by proposition or anything else for that matter by the people. So when you go into the city level, that is when the people are in there. When you go into the municipality area, that is when the people are in there. Did Chicago get to vote to be a sanctuary city? I don't know anyone from Chicago that got to vote on propositions to allow their city to become a sanctuary city. And by Jove, if it's a sanctuary state, that is also a people issue, because these people have to live amongst these things that you're bringing into this to these states. So these are weak policies. Conservatives have been calling for accountability for a long time. And this operation is actually what is it's holding the system accountable. And Pritzker is fighting against it. And he's got the Wakanda looking dude that stands behind him like this. Bro, you're never going to be governor of anything, so you should stop while you're ahead. But it's okay. You got your 10 minutes of spotlight, so you're happy about that. But you guys don't care about the citizens of Illinois. You don't. And this is not just an Illinois problem. This is the entirety of the United States, because every state has sanctuary cities in it. So ICE officials have stressed, rather, the operation is about protecting Americans, not politics. They're prioritizing the removal of offenders tied to violent crimes, drugs, and repeat immigration violations. It's simply a call to action. Americans need to stay engaged, support law enforcement, and demand Congress back these operations with funding and push back to those who want to handcuff ICE instead of the criminals. These people can't even walk across the street and live life without having problems. And this is everywhere. It would be one thing if it was only one state. I would still be saying what I'm saying, but it's everywhere. Everybody is affected by this in some way, shape, or form. I have friends that are affected by this. Just 3 cities over from me, people are being affected by this. It's a 25-minute drive for me. Our next story, we have a follow-up. And I know I lingered a little long on that one, but we have a follow-up. Do you guys recall the 65,000 missed calls under the Biden administration? Do you recall that? Those poor babies. 65,000 calls of minors who were placed with, what do you call those people? Sponsors. 65,000 of them. And they only had one employee to answer all those calls. Anybody want to take a wild guess? How many of those calls got answered? Yeah, 0. Not a single dang one got answered. So this is a follow-up on that particular story. I call it poor babies because it is. They say accountability is the backbone of civil society. Well, what happens when the government loses track of thousands of kids, minors, that they released into the shadows with sponsors that were not actually vetted to be sponsors. So if you recall, when Trump got in office the first time, he created a task force by 2018 that found 350,000 children. And then when he got out of office and Biden got in office, they lost 380,000 kids. Where'd they go, Joe? Then when Trump got back in office, they found 340,000 kids. Well, with this particular tidbit, they just found 22,638 of these missing children. They've been located, that many of them. Now, check this out. More than 400 sponsors have been arrested. More than 400 sponsors. Now, these sponsors can sponsor more than one child, and the government's going to pay them to do so. More than 400 of them have been arrested. Why? Well, 27 of these poor babies were killed. And I call it killed, it murdered. I'm going to break it down for you. Some by suicide, some by murder, and some by overdose. Those are all murders. Because if these kids weren't here in the first place or under the purview of the actual government and not released to sponsors that aren't vetted to be sponsors in these situations, then guess what? Guess freaking what? They wouldn't be dead. They wouldn't be dead. They'd still be here. And you've got to be kidding me if you think this is okay. So overall, there's some key failures here. They failed to identify the prior administration's approach. There's the weak vetting process of the sponsors, which I've mentioned. They ousted the DNA testing with many of these cases, because if they had done the DNA testing, which they jumped on the Trump administration about, guess what? These kids could have been sent back home. And this kind of sort of ties into the story I told last week with Judge Sparkle, Leah Soupnanny, whatever the weirdo's name is, who got up at 4:22 a.m. to stop Trump from letting these kids go back to Guatemala when the Guatemalan government and the parents of these said children in Guatemala wanted their kids back, and they did the agreement. And this judge stood up and said, "No, Trump, no, you're not going to do that. You're not sending these kids back. Stop it right now." And like I said last week, if you stop me from getting to my babies, I will end you. They had no record keeping at all of where these kids went or any of that stuff. This is all through investigations. And this task force that they formed, and within this task force, what they ended up doing is just going to door knocking. That's a lot of man hours, a lot of beating the streets to find these babies. But that's how important it is to Trump. Y'all don't care about the kids. So ultimately, why it matters is protecting the vulnerable. Nothing conservative about justice and safety. Justice and safety should be something that's a broad spectrum all the way across the board on both sides. It's not enough to have open hearts. You must have secure systems overall. You got to restore the rule of law. You got to vet the processes you got to vet the processes that vet the people, because clearly, if anybody can just come in and just say, "I want to sponsor," bro, it costs like $40,000 to be able to adopt a child. $40,000 to adopt a child in a lot of states. I don't think I've ever seen it. It could be, correct me if I'm wrong, it could be cheaper in other states, but majority of the states I've looked at is $40,000 minimum to adopt a child. And they comb through your life. They comb through your pubic hairs. They want to get down to the nitty gritty. If you got so much as lice, you ain't getting no kid. But unaccompanied minors, one more time for the one time, unaccompanied minors. Where's their mom and dad? Why are they here in the first place? How did they get here? They're unaccompanied. Minors are placed with people that have shady backgrounds. That's why over 400 of them have been arrested. Yeah. So what are we talking about? You know what happened to some of these kids: sex trafficking, raped, molested, beaten. I'm gonna make it plain for you. I want you to feel this. Imagine if it was your child being raped, trafficked, molested, day in and day out. Because this has been going on since the Biden administration. So that's years of these children being harmed, assaulted, being made to do unspeakable, unmentionable things. Make it personal. I want you angry like I am angry. Because this shouldn't be the case. You got people losing their lives left and right to get here, and then somehow unaccompanied minors make it multiple countries away to get here. Make that make sense. Where they do that at? So you need to reach out to your representatives and insist that they support the oversight reforms to make sure that this crap goes away completely. And I'm all for putting every last bit of money in it, behind it, taxpayer money, to make sure these kids get back to where they need to get to, and also helping find our missing children. Bravo to Texas and Florida for putting task forces together that have done this. Next segment, Democrats can't be Christian. Share this to your Democrat friend. Tell them to jump right in at this timestamp right here. Tell them, you can't be a Christian. You can't. So the new State Department directive, there is a new State Department directive, Christian religious liberty, and what appears to be lack of regard for religious exemptions under the previous administration. That's the Biden administration. Have you ever heard the saying that, like, if you support someone, you're complicit? Like, I don't, there's a lot of things about Trump I don't like, but I do support him. So therefore, I got to support him all the way around. But if he makes a mistake, I do get to call him out. Where have you ever heard the Democrats call out Biden and his administration, or the Democrats in general, for being anti-Christian? Let's get through and roll on through with what's going on and what it means for faith, freedom, and government overreach. So on it was the, I'm trying to think of the date. Never mind. I won't go there. The Trump administration has issued an internal cable to the State Department employees, instructing them to report instances of anti-Christian bias among coworkers. Anonymous reports are accepted, and they must include the name, the dates, and the location of these actions that are being taken place. Because of the Biden administration, they were stopping people from having religious exemptions. Like under the COVID mandates, you couldn't do religious exemptions. It's crazy that everybody else got to live their life the way they wanted to do things, and then the Biden administration was like, "Nah, player, we ain't doing that." So yes, I'm all for snitching. If you see it, say something, say something. Because if you don't, that's how bad behavior continues. Now, the employees did express their concerns over this whole situation, and it might create a chilling culture or fear of being reported. Then don't be anti-Christian. And a lot of them compared it to a Handmaid's Tale-esque type regime. Boo-hoo. We lived under Joseph Robinette Biden's administration, where we were censored, slapped down, told we couldn't do something, told we had to get a shot if we wanted to keep our jobs. Yeah, you can miss me with that. None of that matters to me. So while the directive focuses on Christians, the document also acknowledges discrimination based on any religion is unconstitutional. Still, the critics will argue giving special attention to one faith risks government religious favoritism. You can't say nothing about the Muslims because the government came after you. You can't say anything about universalism because the government came after you. You can't say anything about that gay religion that they made up under the universalism blanket or the government came after you. It literally, people were getting banned off of social media platforms for saying anything about them. But boy, you could say whatever you wanted about Christians. So if you consider this favoritism, you're stupid. You're stupid. What counts as anti-Christian though? What counts? Who defines it? And what oversight potentially is being done and considerably misused? That's what they're talking about. That's what they're saying, the opposite side. When I say they, I mean them, the other people, the ones that aren't on the right side of history. It really is justified, though, because under the perception of the way the Biden administration did what they did, we suffered. We suffered. The Biden administration, like I said earlier, explicitly went after Christians. With COVID-19, I got a whole list for you. So with the COVID-19 mandates, some, not all, but some Christian employees and service members sought religious exemption and were denied. Christian universities, Christian universities like Liberty University and Grand Canyon University were fined tens of millions of dollars under the Biden administration because they didn't want to fall in line. Only Christian universities, though. There were other non-Christian universities that didn't fall in line that didn't get fined. Also, you had political pressure from senators like Josh Hawley alleging that the FBI targeted traditional Catholics and that was a potential security risk of doing that. People that were within the Congress and within the government itself, they were targeting people that were Catholic. Catholics ain't Christian, but I ain't gonna get on that kick. I digress. So why it ultimately matters with this is that you are fining people and telling people that they can't believe the way they believe, and if you do, you're going to pay. So I am all for this move. I don't see this as being a bad thing because it says any religion. They just happen to name Christianity, and it seems really crazy to me because when you mention Christ, people just them demons get stirred up because you're mentioning Christ. Ultimately, you're disgusting if you think that it's okay for people to worship the way they want to and we can't worship the way we want to. Some of y'all's religion likes child sacrifice. Some of y'all's religion is about self-mutilation. Some of y'all's religion is about harming children. I said what I said. I said what I said. And if you don't like it, well, there's the door. You can leave. You can come and go as you please. But I'm going to say what I want to say. Moving right along on this same instance, though, we got prayer in schools. Oh, prayer in schools, prayer in schools. Now, Trump vows to protect prayer in schools with the new DOE guidelines directive. He claims that schools push anti-Christian values, and they do. And they do. Oh, you can read, you can bring your Bible, you can pray, but the teachers can't. Pause. Why can't the teachers? They have to check their faith at the door before they enter in the class? What? So big moves are happening in Washington, D.C. Trump is doubling down on prayer in school, in public schools, launching the Religious Liberty Commission. Ooh, like it. Religious Liberty Commission. And pushing front the faith that should be, or pushing forward faith front and center. Sorry. And it's a beautiful thing to see because growing up, for me, it wasn't as stringent, but as years went by, I watched kids not be able to do this. And Mr. Frankie, we don't get to talk about that and this, that, and the third. Mr. Frankie, there's no more FCA, which is Fellowship of Christian Athletes. There's no more. They got rid of that program. What? So Trump was speaking at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, and he announced that he's going to put forth these new guidelines with the Department of Education to be able to protect this particular act in schools. So that would also allow teachers to be able to pray in schools without any recourse. They won't be able to get in trouble, which is a good thing because there's a lot of teachers that were getting fired over this. It calls for a weekly prayer in communities, faith organizations joining up, emphasizing Christian values as a part of America's identity, which it is. Every single last state constitution mentions the Most High, Elohim, Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Shalom, Jehovah Nisi, Jesus, Yahweh. All of them mention God. None of them mention Satan. None of them mention Ramani Krishna or Buddha or what's that? Allah? Yeah, that guy. Or Muhammad. But they all mention God, all 50 of them. They also mentioned that marriage is between a man and a woman. That's a little nod to a couple of weeks back on the Supreme Court going to hear that that marriage should go back to the states, but I digress. So the Religious Liberty Commission hosted this hearings with parents and students sharing stories where they say that religious speech of faith expression and it should ultimately not be suppressed in schools because all speech is free speech, right? So why can't teachers express themselves? So Supreme Court precedents, state-led or local or official school sponsored prayer. There's precedents there. It's state-led or officially school sponsored prayer. For example, at the start of the school day, they can pray. Has been found unconstitutional. And that's Engel v. Vattel from 1962. But courts also protect student-led prayer, religious clubs, expressions during non-instructional time. And that's crazy to me. Like, let's say these students are about to take a test and they are all feeling anxious about this test. And I say, dear Heavenly Father God, you are the author and the finisher of our faith, God. I thank you for giving these kids the knowledge and the wisdom that they need, God. I have taught this subject very well, Lord, and I thank you for coming in here and giving them all the right answers that they need to pass this test. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. I could be fired for that because of Engel v. Vattel. What? That's a First Amendment violation. You're literally shortening my speech. That's what abridge means. Abridgment of speech. You're shortening my speech. You're telling me what I can and can't say. And I'm not even in a political situation. I should be able to say whatever I want to say. This is crazy to me. So I'm glad, good on Trump for doing this. Trump is what's really nice about what Trump is doing, and I'm going to tell you why, it is that he is pressing buttons to bring up cases that were passed long ago that need some revisiting. Like Dred Scott. Dred Scott should be thrown out, overturned. That case was bonkers, and that would ultimately change the 14th Amendment right out the gate and that citizenship crap that we have to deal with. So I applaud Trump for doing this. I applaud him for pushing the buttons to make sure things change. Otherwise, we sit around looking like dummies while the government gets to put their hand up our butts and treat us like puppets. I'm not a puppet. There's no strings attached to me. I can move independently. So that's good on Trump for doing that. Good on Trump for doing that. I'm here for it. I'm also here for this. I'm here for this right here. So the U.S. steps up operations. So Pete Hegseth, which is the Secretary of War from the Department of War, visits Puerto Rico, stating that the U.S. is stepping up their operations in the Caribbean, no longer doing drills against drug trafficking. Boy, that's delicious. So what actually happened while aboard the USS Iwo Jima off the coast of Puerto Rico? Hegseth told the sailors and the Marines, what you're doing now, right now, is not training. Yeah, this is all ultimately to fight drugs. He said that they're on the front lines right now of a critical counter-narcotics mission aimed at stopping the flow of drugs into the United States. And he also called it a real-world exercise in service of vital national interests of the United States to end the poisoning of American people. Boy, Pete Hegseth spun some lines there, boy. I like it, though. I like it. Now, this comes in context of the rising tensions between Venezuela and the United States, which the Trump administration was accusing them of being involved in trafficking of narcotics into the United States, which, let's be real, man. Let's not be stupid. We know that these drugs come from South America. They might originate somewhere else first, like China, and then they come to the southern border, meaning anything below the United States, southern border. They come into those countries, and those countries with Americans. I'm gonna call it a spade a spade. A lot of these people that traffic stuff in here are Americans that are heavily involved in drug trafficking in those other countries, and these Americans come across the border with this crap. So we're putting a stop to it. Now, those accusations by Venezuela, those accusations that were made by Venezuela, by the Trump administration to Venezuela, were denied ultimately. And but it's also relevant to the fact that the administration has deployed 10 F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico. They're not playing, and it's they're using also war grade ships, like not kind of sort of ships. I mean, like really, really scary ships that essentially could shoot nukes to these areas because they're not playing around anymore. And I think this is a really big showing of force. Like, hey, I have the bigger stick. But ultimately, this boils down to law and order and border security. This is exactly what I voted for. I voted for Trump multiple times, and I'm voting for this action right here because I have family members that died from drugs. I'm pretty sure some of you out there listening have family members that died from drugs. Those drugs are not being made here. I know some of you have seen that one show. What is that one show with that the guys in the yellow suits? Whatever. That show that showed them cooking up drugs here. That's not the case. These drugs are being made in labs in South America. The meth heads, the local meth heads ain't smart enough to make these drugs. I mean, most of them blow their own homes up anyway, but you get what I'm saying. Like, these drugs are high-end drugs that are being made outside of this country. They're being made in China and other nations and being brought to South America, and some are being made in South America and then brought here. This is a strong posture. It is. The message is clear overall that we're not going to be soft on these things anymore. The threats are real because they're no longer exercising anymore. They're putting in action. This operation is real, as it should be. As it should be. But you need to keep an eye on the legal jurisdiction and the legal justification. When you deploy military forces and counter-narcotics, questions will come up legally, as in, can you do that? Are you breaking international law? That is, again, it's always going to be something that the opposition likes to bring up. However, I do indulge in those talking points that they bring up because I need to be able to think both sides of the aisle. I can't be one-sided, always one-sided, because then I don't give you true information, because every now and then they're right. A clock is right twice a day. So that, they might be right. So I have to consider their thoughts and feelings in these things and the facts that they bring forth, and then be able to decipher if their facts are even facts. So the mandates that they are operating under are actually working right now. And this is probably one of the first things I've not seen some inferior federal court judge come up and stop. And I believe wholeheartedly, if they were putting a stop to this, then they would, they dealing in drugs too. That's more than likely with the case. But the truth of the matter is this administration is reshaping how it uses military power. And ultimately, I'm here for it, because for too long with these war hawks and warmongers like Bush, I know they say most Democrats are, but Bush is is a Democrat in disguise, and he falls right in line with that, like Dick Cheney. These people are warmongers. They push for this war out of America, war out of America, war out of America, because they make money, but they forsake one of the first duties that these people are supposed to protect us, foreign and domestic. Why are you forsaking the domestic? Why are we going over here looking for weapons of mass destruction, Bush? Really, you wanted oil. I got you. And other things. And to finish your father's war, Bush Jr. But you're fighting over there, but not fighting over here. And putting stop to drugs coming into our country is a valid use of our military, because that hurts us. That hurts our babies. They do ordain this Constitution for our posterity. That means that for our lineage. And our lineage can't be here if they're all doped up. So I'm here for it. Speaking of dope, on the dope line, we got China pharma. U.S. pharmaceutical companies are leaning heavily into China to license new drug candidates. So big implications of innovation are coming for supply chains, national security checks, and taxpayer dollars. Let's get into it. U.S. pharma is entering licensing deals with China-based biotech firms. And they're doing it really quickly. And I kind of hate this, because why are we going somewhere else to make these things and not doing it here? Can we make that make sense? It makes no sense. It really does make no sense. And so they're doing this at a fast rate. In the first half of this year, there are 14 licensing deals out of China, potentially worth $18.3 billion in total. And that's a big jump up from last year's 2 deals in the same period of time. So from this point to this point last year, it's a huge jump. So the reasons the U.S. drug pipelines are under pressure now is that many drugs will lose patent protection in the coming years. And this is what's crazy to me. Patent protection just means that the drug is no longer going to make them money. That no other company can come in and make the same drug for less. It's crazy to me. So this estimates are about $200 billion worth of drug patents coming to an end by the end of this decade. And it's just crazy to me. You guys are so money hungry. And you're willing to partner with these other heinous individuals just to be able to keep your money flow going. It's disgusting, because these drugs are hurting people. So I think that the government should continue to push for global competition, but at the same time, push pharma out of our country. And when I say push them out, most of our drug development is done within universities. Big pharma gets most of their money from the schools and from the federal government to develop these things, yet that they're taking that money and getting that stuff made faster in other countries and then reselling it to us for the prices that it would cost to make it here, and doubling, tripling it. And they're just triple and quadruple dipping. And it's not cool. It's not cool. And dealing with China out the gate, you already know that they're going to be leaking information, stealing information, and doing all this other stuff. And America's number one in the world for R&D, research and development, for those that don't understand. And yet these people are out here doing these deals, and you're starting to see a fracture in it, which is I'm happy for, because I want transparency. National security matters, and a lot of these companies are doing things to these drugs that shouldn't be done. And if you're dealing with China's already tried to poison our food. Yes, they were doing agricultural terrorism, or agro-terrorism for short. They were poisoning our food. Why would you want to continue to do deals with these people? These deals aren't being vetted. That's why I said there needs to be a vetting process of the vetting. So when they do make these deals and these doings behind the closed doors, that they're not doing it haphazardly, because it's costing us, the American people. It's not costing anyone else. It's costing us. We're the ones that's suffering. And it's our taxpayer money that's footing the bill for this stuff. Our last segment of the day is about the ACA. So I recall some years back being in a debate, and I was being told that the federal government does not pay for abortions. Well, there is new light on this. It's not new to me. It might be new to you. But today, U.S. pharmaceutical companies are, hold on, let's see. My apologies, I'm in the wrong section. All right. There we go. Sorry. Apologize. So this is dealing, the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, is Obamacare, ultimately. And there are pro-life groups that are warning Congress not to extend the ACA subsidies unless there are strict protections against taxpayer funding for elective abortions. And I've been saying this for years, literally, that the federal government, because of Obamacare, funds elective surgeries, as they call them, but they're really abortions. And I'm big on that no taxation without representation. I'm not represented in this. I don't want you to be able to take my tax money and go abort your babies. So the big stakes here are for religious values, taxpayer responsibility, and national politics. Because you know they're going to talk about it. Nearly 100 pro-life organizations have sent in a letter to Congress urging them that any extension of the ACA Act premium tax credits or cost sharing or premium subsidies must include explicit language to block funding going towards elective abortions. The concern is that the current ACA subsidies arrangements are especially set up in a way that have certain changes that allows them to fund elective abortions. And that's unfair to you. That's unfair to me to have to shell out this kind of money, because I'm not benefiting from the ACA. I make too much money. I don't qualify. And even if I did qualify for it, I still wouldn't want my money going to pay for an abortion. If you want to throw your legs behind your head and get pile drived and let someone free the boys inside of you and you get pregnant and you don't want that baby, you go abort it yourself. Go pay for it out of your pocket. I love life. I love those babies. They're beautiful to me. And that baby didn't ask to be there. I would love nothing more if we could communicate with babies. Hey, your mom wants to abort you, and we're going to let her do it. Do you want to abort her back? Yeah, go and get rid of her too. I wonder how many babies would say that. That's crazy to me. More than likely, they'd probably say no, let her live. But it's just crazy that we have, for this whole time, been footing the bill on this. So if you look in section 1303 of the ACA, it requires that insurance providers offering elective abortions coverages must collect a separate payment from enrollees specifically for the abortion coverage portion. This is meant to ensure that the federal funds are not directly funding abortions. A copay. If you want to break it down to the nitty gritty, it's a copay. It's a freaking copay. Now, we need to make sure you paid us $4 for this abortion. Oh, I don't have $4. Well, can you pay $3? Yeah, I can pay $3. Here's $3 copay. Now take this critter out of me. You're killing babies, and I'm paying for it. This is why I tell everybody, look, you don't like being taxed, stop paying taxes. What, they don't come after everybody? Stop paying taxes. Just stop and watch what happens. Watch the government fold. Do you realize that if everybody went 1 year without paying taxes, the government would have to listen to us? But you won't do it because you're scared. You have been paying for abortions. I, for a while, were paying for abortions. Right under our nose. This is why it's important to read these bills. It's important to read these bills. Reading is essential. And if you're not reading, you're not understanding and you're being duped. I told you the section to go read out of this bill. And you'll find that I'm not lying to you. Section 1303 of the Affordable Care Act, or AKA Obamacare. Go to congress.gov and you type that in and you'll see it. Watch what Congress does in the next few months. Whether any extension of the ACA Acts or ACA subsidies include a strong Hyde style protection, the Hyde Amendment for those that don't know, or if it goes forward without them. By the way, the Hyde Amendment is how they were able to do this. It's why you're able to pay for things that you don't agree with. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Guys, I appreciate you guys for joining me today. As always, I know it was a little shaky on today's show. I was a late bloomer on this show today. But next week I will be better. I promise that. But our verse of the day is Proverbs 31, 8-9. Open your mouth for the dumb. In the cause of all such are appointed to destination. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. Didn't Tupac say only God can judge me? No, Tupac, you didn't read the Bible, sir. Guys, as always, I appreciate you. Thank you. And make sure you're not one of the ones that can't see the forest for the trees. I'll see you next week.